I like appraisers. I love appraisers. I love people that do what I do for a living. Obviously, I love my job. I love appraising. And I love it when I meet people that have that same desire and excitement. I'll call it that. Whether they're an appraiser that's been around for a long, long time, or whether they're just getting started. In fact, even if they're not appraiser and they have an interest in what we do, and certainly aspiring appraisers. I love it when I meet trainees or someone wanting to become a trainee. You know, over at NAA, we've done a lot for those folks. We've created a category of membership, and there's a trainee event generally at the conferences. And I met someone recently at the Appraisal Summit, and I'm so glad that she came up to chat with me, but I could tell she was a little nervous, and she even said, "I'm a little nervous." And she said she's listened to some of the podcast. And I said, "Well, why don't you be on a podcast?" And her initial reaction was, "Oh, Lord, no," right? But I got her, and I'm excited. I'm excited to continue our conversation and get to know a little bit more about her. And I'm excited for you, as my listener, to get to know her as well. So come on back and join the conversation and meet the special person I'm talking about. Hi, this is Bryan Reynolds. You're listening to the Appraisal Update Podcast, brought to you as always by the great folks over at Appraiser eLearning. You need some education? Check us out at appraiserelearning.com. As always, I'd like to thank my sponsor for the Appraisal Update Podcast, LIA Administrators and Insurance Services. They have been sponsoring us for a while now. They sponsor the webinars. They're at all the conferences that we're associated or affiliated with. Thank you, LIA, for your continued support of the Appraisal Update Podcast. All right, guys, without further delay, I'd like for you to meet this special lady. Her name is Ashley Gamal. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Hi, thanks for having me. I am indeed nervous, and I have, in fact, listened to the podcast, all of them actually. Which,
You said that. You know, I think at our initial meeting, you came up to me, and I think you said you were nervous. Were you nervous when you first came up and we chatted?
absolutely. You know how you're like never meet your like idols or never meet anyone you've like listened to because like you know what I mean? Because it's scary and you don't want to like have a downfall or like what if you trip and fall on your face? You know, you never know. So it's nerve-wracking. And then it was the first time I'd been to a conference at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was very important to me to go actually. But yeah, I
Well,
came up, I saw you, and I was like, if I don't, I'm gonna regret it. And if I do and nothing happens, well, at least I met you. And you are just as nice as you sound on all the
oh,
podcasts with all
oh,
your guests and all your, you know,
you're too sweet, Ashley.
stories.
You're too sweet. So to let the listeners know what happened was, I think I was chatting with someone, and this young lady came up, and I could tell she was kind of waiting to either talk to me or the person I was talking to. I didn't know who. And she came up and introduced herself, and she said, "I've listened to your podcast." And I'm like, "Oh, great. Well, thank you for saying that." Because honestly, guys, sometimes I think, should I even keep doing this? Is anybody listening? And so when I do hear a kind word like that, it makes it all worthwhile. And she said, I said, "Oh, you've listened to some podcasts?" And she said, "No, no, no. I've listened to all your podcasts." And I'm like, "Wait a minute. Did you really?" And I believe you said you went back, right? You went back and listened to number one all the way through.
Yeah, when I first like started deciding if I wanted to be an appraiser, like what I wanted to do, I went and I listened to all of the podcasts, like everyone that I could find. Like I was even listening to commercial, which is not
Yeah,
anything that I have like sites on, but I listen because they're all full of little nuggets and little information bits that, everyone has their own insight. And so
right.
yeah, I listened to all of them to gain as much as I could to see if it's something I even wanted to do or pursue or continue on.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute. Why is it that you want to become an appraiser? I mean, talk to my audience a little bit about Ashley, where you live, what you do, and then zone in on why it is that you want to become an appraiser. Let my audience know a little bit about Ashley.
Sure. I live in Wisconsin. I have no real reason why appraising. I think it's because when I met my partner in 2021, he was becoming an agent. And I've always liked looking at houses, and I think they're so beautiful, but I don't think I could be like an architect to design them. But to see them is like an entirely different story. They all have their own, right? And I was like, well, I also can't really sell to people. Like if I wanted to do it, it would have to be something they really loved. And I don't have the time or the patience, honestly, to like find someone their perfect house. But he's like, they have appraising. You can go and see all these houses and you can look at them and enjoy them and then see the next one. And then he was like, you can go inside and you see the insides. And like, to be honest, I'm a little nosy, a little bit. That's okay. So like to get to see behind the curtain of someone's life, just a snippet, little ins and outs. It's very intriguing because people are all so different, just like the houses they live in. And ah, I really wish I could be the kind of person to sell the houses, but that's just not who I am. So when I learned that there was a route that I could still see and interact and be, it caught me. And I just started listening and consuming and reading. And I don't know. It's just become part of what I want to do. And like I'm nervous and I'm scared, obviously, so it's kind of been a long
Yeah,
road, a long path.
yeah, yeah.
But that's just like everyone has fears. You can't do anything great if you don't move over it.
Well, you're trying to face your fears, and just the fact that you came up to me and introduced yourself, and I'm nobody, but I mean I appreciate that, and then the fact that when I invited you on this, you're like, no, 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 and then you thought about it, you decided, okay, all right, I'll do that. So I admire that, Ashley. That's great that you're facing those fears, and sometimes it's hard to do something that you're uncomfortable with, but it might just help improve one another, right? One of us. So let me ask you, where are you at in the process, right? You want to become an appraiser. You've clearly done a lot of research and listening to podcasts, and you said reading, even listening to some commercial stuff. But where are you? Have you taken any classes? And if so, which ones have you taken? And fill us in a little bit on that process.
I've taken all of my courses. I'm actually just waiting to take the exam for the 2024 update for USPAP. I just did a course on solar panels
Mm.
on the 17th and 18th through Appraiser eLearning.
Oh,
So that was cool. That's probably the most recent class that I've taken. But
okay.
yeah, I have all my education, and it's just trying to find someone to continue to train me that will answer
Right,
emails.
right.
Like I saw somebody who had a .rr, which is Roadrunner, and I didn't even know Roadrunner was still like a company that did emails. So around here, they don't really keep up on their websites and all their, outreach. It's like if you want to outreach, you have to be somebody who wants their house appraised. And I
Mm,
was like, that's not the route that I obviously need to talk to you about. But
right,
um,
right, right.
yeah, there's just not really a whole lot of people. I'm gonna start going down the list, go lawyers and real estate agents, like anything I can. But again, I'm
Yeah.
a nervous, anxious little chicken over here. So
Well, tell me about the
it's taking
comp.
me a little bit.
Tell me about the conference. You decided to go to the conference. What grabbed you about maybe attending a conference, and what did you hope to get out of going to that conference? I'm just curious.
I saw it as a networking opportunity. I was hoping, I wanted to go last year and I couldn't afford it. So this year I sunk all my taxes into going because it's very important that if I don't meet the people who shape our industry, who shape this community, I will not be a part of it. Like I could be an ally, but I won't gain anything. Like just doing isn't the same as being. And if you go there, you can feel the electricity, the passion these people have for what they do. And not just like the people learning, the people teaching. Everyone is so open. Like it's scary. Like I was walking around, like holding my paper, like who do I talk to? Where do I do? But everyone was so welcoming. Once you like got the nerve to say hello, that's all it really took. And they're like, oh, meet this person and this person can help you. And like they want new people in, but not a
Yeah.
lot of people know that this is like a
Yeah.
part of real estate that can be lucrative and fulfilling, I guess is the word.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I know. I took you around to a couple of folks and introduced you when we were there, and I think I saw you were so sweet. You came up, I think, the next day and gave me a little thank you note, and that was very, very nice of you. Thank you for that. But yeah, you meet a lot of people, and you never know who you might bump in that might create an opportunity. And so, I encourage folks to kind of get out of their shell and do some of what you're doing. Talk a little bit about social media. I know there's lots of groups out there. A lot of people say stay off some of those groups. Have you done a little exploring on the social media platforms when it talks about appraising and maybe gathering information in those groups?
Honestly, you would think with my age range that I would be into social media more, but I really don't. And then everyone I listen to is like, everyone's so negative. And I was like, well, if I'm going into this, I don't really want to just have negativity pounded into my head.
Mm-hmm.
And I did join Clubhouse, and I don't, for whatever reason, I didn't capitalize on that. And
Mm-hmm.
I've clicked into it a couple times, and I've met a few people who are on Clubhouse. Um, but I don't know what it is. Social media is not something I lean heavy towards. I don't know why.
Yeah, yeah. You might, I'd recommend LinkedIn. That seems to me more of a professional site. I know there's a lot of appraisers and real estate groups and attorneys and users of appraisal services there. And I'm sure they're across all platforms. I'm kind of like you, Ashley. I'm not a big social media guy. I'm just not. But it sounds like you're doing some pretty good research. And I don't know, does Wisconsin, I want to say Wisconsin does have an appraisal association, or it might be with the real estate. And I tell you what I'll do, because I went and spoke with them one time at the Dells, Wisconsin Dells, in December. Why do they send me there in December? It's cold there in December. But,
Yeah.
but, that might be a good group for you to get involved with and associate with. Let me take a real quick little commercial to thank my sponsor, and we'll be right back with Miss Ashley. 1 second, please. Since 1978, LI Administrators and Insurance Services has been offering E&O insurance to valuation professionals just like you, me, and other appraisers. They offer superior customer service, exceptional liability education, unparalleled claim defense to serve, I can't believe this, over 10,000 real estate professionals all across the country. They offer commercial bond, general liability, cyber liability, and so much more. Visit liability.com today to learn more about how LIA can help you and your business. All right, back to Miss Ashley. So I'm just curious, when we talk about appraising, it really is a big world, and a lot of appraisers focus on residential, which is great. I'm a residential appraiser, commercial appraiser too, but the bulk of what we do is residential. Have you thought about in what capacity? I mean, a lot of appraisers do mortgage work. So, you're buying a house, you're refinancing a house, but there are all types of residential assignments available. For instance, I just got back from Texas where I went to the RAC conference, right? and they're not paying me to do this. The second time I've done that. And that's for relocation appraisals. So how that works actually is a company is relocating you to another location, and they offer to buy your house from you. Well, they get not only one, but two appraisers, sometimes three, to help determine what the value of that property is because they're about to buy it. If you think about divorces, unfortunately, more than 50% of first marriages end in divorce. Second marriages, it's about 70%. Third marriages, who are you kidding? Don't even try it, right? They're going to continue to build roads and widen roads and put pipelines in and have easements. I guess my point is with all of that, there are many types of available assignments to appraisers, residential including, that are what I call interest rate safe, like estate appraising. We need an effective date. We need this property value with an effective date as the date the person died, right? Or an insurance claim. One thing's for sure, people are going to die, they're going to widen building roads, and people are going to get divorced, unfortunately, regardless of what the interest rates are. Have you thought about all those different opportunities, and have you really decided, which kind of lane you think you would be in?
Yeah, when I was first deciding what I wanted to do in appraising, it was obviously just the basic residential. And as I looked into it, something called me towards green energy appraising, like the greenhouses. Like, I don't know what it is and I don't know why, but there's something fascinating about our country wanting to go into like their net zero options and like lessening the gas, like fossil fuels and all that. And in the coming time, or at least what I would see as my career span, I can see that gaining more popularity and being something that has a lot of room, an area that needs not only appraisers, but eventually like hopefully teachers and all those kinds of things. So I'd probably go towards that. And then definitely I thought about divorce, but that's more like my cynical side kicking in. I don't, it's kind of it's not great, but also it's there. It's always going to be there.
Yeah,
So kind of
yeah.
like a safety net.
Yeah, yeah. There are just so many options, contaminated properties, what you're talking about, green appraising. I know Mark Bueller does a good job with that and with the solar panel. I don't know, that's probably what you took through Mark, the solar class. And that's a specialized area. Not all appraisers feel comfortable appraising something that's got solar panels, or a house that's so energy efficient. But as we move on from that, the wind turbines, there's probably appraisal opportunities for that, or for the land in which they will be on. So there's all kinds of opportunity. What's next on your list? Have you had any ideas on what you're going to do? I know you need a supervisor. That's probably number one on your list right now. What steps are you taking to try and find that special person that will make a good connection between you and them?
Well, for one, I came here, so hopefully that will help. I've reached out to the appraisers around me. They've recently taken on other trainees, which was kind of sad because I was like, I reached out and there was nothing, and now you're full. And I was like, well,
Gotcha.
tis what it is.
Yep.
But I think next I'm gonna start going down the list, seeing if realtors have like special, like I know banks are an option too, anything to get my
Yeah.
foot in the door. Um, just outreach and more classes, just not for necessarily hoping to grab somebody, but I do just enjoy learning. So hopefully I'll see more classes pop up for green energy, and hopefully someone will message me back because the outreach, I think I had one person actually reply to the emails that I sent, and they were like, well, we're full. I was like, well, but you can only keep trying. That's
Yeah.
all you can do. Keep
Sure.
reaching out.
Absolutely. One thing that I know some appraisers, getting into the field did, they started out as like an administrative assistant, or they started as a scheduler, or you know how I started in this field, as a typist. Back when we typed appraisal reports on a typewriter, I did that as a side gig. I had a different job. I had 5 jobs, and one of them was typing. I'm not a typist, by the way, but I was typing appraisal reports, and that ultimately led into an opportunity to become an appraiser. So you might consider, when you reach out to these firms, let them know, hey, if you don't have an opportunity for a trainee today, is there an opportunity to be a helper in the appraisal firm in some kind of capacity? And then that at least gets your feet in the door. I know a lot of the folks have also knocked on the door of the assessor's office. So if you talk about your county assessor, that's what they do. I mean, they're developing an opinion of value on every piece of dirt in your entire county. You talk about a job. That's a big job. And they have mass appraisal tools and different things to help them do that. But they constantly need help in those areas. So that's something you can think about. Ashley, thanks for being here. Do you have any plans to attend any other conferences, or did you get your fill on the one?
I would love to. Financially, it travels a lot, and putting up a place to stay is a lot. So I don't know if I'll be able to attend until the next Vegas one, which I believe would be what Axe is held in Vegas every year,
No, so
right?
so AXE is the one they move around. That's the
Oh,
Appraisal
right, right.
Conference and Trade Show. That's coming up in April of
That's in
25.
April, right?
That'll be in San Antonio. But the next conference will be Val
Alex,
Expo, and that will be in Las Vegas. And then right on the
right.
heels of that, about a month later, would be the summit. So yeah, maybe I'll talk to the people, see if we can get you a discount or something. We would love to have you. So Ashley, if somebody's watching right now and they'd like to get in touch with you, they'd either like to pick your brain and find out what you've been doing, because maybe they want to break into the field as well. Or more importantly, maybe somebody's watching right now and they think, hey, I may have an opportunity, even though it might be part time, or maybe it's not as a trainee, maybe it's as a helper. How could someone reach out to you if they want to get in touch with you?
Sure, my email is always open. It's ajgemoll@gmail.com. You can reach out anytime. I do work third shift, so the reply times might seem a little odd, but I'll do my best to keep it daylight hours. Um, if someone is looking to help, that'd be great. If you're looking to break in to this industry, I do recommend going to the conferences. Whether you go for the whole thing or you go and pick up part one class or just mingle, is very important to meet your peers and see what they're doing. Because if we're all not in line, then we're going to have a downfall and all those things. So I do believe if you can attend the conferences, do. I found it incredibly useful, even just not being in the industry, you know.
That's that's great. That's great, Ashley. Well, number one, I'm glad you attended, and I'm glad you came up and talked to me, and it was a pleasure to meet you. And I'm going to follow you a little bit. I'm going to follow your story, because I think you're a great individual that would be great for the appraisal profession. We need more folks that are honest and ethical and want to do a good job. And I feel like you have all those qualities, and I'm excited to see where you go from here. So stay in touch with me. I'll stay in touch with you, and maybe as you progress a little bit, we can bring you back on the program, and the listeners can kind of follow your story as well, if you're open to doing that.
Yeah, I am so grateful for this opportunity for sure. Um, I know it's hard to want to keep doing something that's like, is it falling on deaf ears? So your perseverance is a real motivator to myself, and I'm sure countless others. So thank you for sure. And yeah, I'm incredibly grateful. Thank you
Well,
so much.
let me just say this, and thank you. You're too kind. Let me just say this: we all hit that brick wall at some point in our life, whether it be looking for a supervisor or mentor, whether trying to break into the business, whether trying to get more clients, regardless of what it is, at some point in our lives, we hit that brick wall. And the thing about hitting that brick wall, if you put your head down and you keep going and you try, what's on the other side of that brick wall is a breakthrough. So don't have a breakdown because you're about to have a breakthrough. And I really believe that's true in your case. So put your head down, keep going, girl. And you got a breakthrough coming really, really soon. I really believe that. Good luck to you, Ashley. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Ladies and gentlemen, you've been listening to the Appraisal Update podcast. I love stories like this. It's going to be interesting to see where Ashley goes from now. I have high hopes for her, and I believe she's going to be a great appraiser. I hope she lets us follow her story and we can have her back on throughout that process. I think that would be an interesting story. I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're making some money. I hope maybe you took a little mini vacation. Until next time, I'm your host, Bryan Reynolds, for Ashley Gameau. Happy appraising.
The Appraisal Update podcast is brought to you by Appraiser eLearning.